SimWorld presents Around the Table with E and the Fat Man.
What's up, everybody? It's me, it's the B.O.B., and I am here with my man, E. E, how are you doing today?
Hey, I got a new nickname right now, Bob. I am the Road Warrior. I am Mad Max.
Where
I
you
am,
at?
for everybody out there listening, I am literally phoning it in for this episode of Around the Table, but not spiritually. My heart and my brain and my basketball acumen are all still coming to the fore here. So currently, I am in what I would argue and have argued is the beating heart of basketball. I am in the great state of Indiana. I actually just passed through Lafayette recently, the home of Zach Edey and the Purdue Boilermakers, who is a Hoosiers fan I hate, but we'll leave that to the side. It's all about love today. So,
well, did you get to stop and see any of the venues?
I didn't get to see anything on this trip, although I have seen a few out here in the state of Indiana and Ohio, where I also was on part of this trip. And yeah, there's some really nice places. Some of the finest high school stadiums, certainly that I've ever seen, are here in Indiana. But nice. I think we're going to talk about that today, though, a little bit, Bob. I don't think I'm going to bring up, or I'll doubt you're going to bring up a high school stadium. But well, why don't you tell the folks what our topic is?
Well, first, this is Around the Table with E and the Fat Man. That is E. I am the Fat Man, and this is the podcast where we talk about pretty much whatever we want. And today, since E is on the road, we figured we'll look across I won't even just say the country, across the whole world, and we're going to talk about our favorite and maybe throw in our least favorite venues across all sports, whether it be SimWorld, hoops, college football or basketball, NBA. If you've ever been to you've traveled, E, so you might have a somewhere in the middle of Europe favorite venue. I don't know.
well, don't give away any spoilers, or don't give away my surprises, Bob. But yeah, there might be a little non-U.S. venue I slip into the mix. But hey, why don't we let you go first? Throw out one of your top three venues.
Well, I think I'm gonna probably, and I think maybe you'll end up like this too, is I'm probably gonna stick around some of my favorite teams whenever it comes to this, but they're the ones that I know the most. Right now, I have to go with my favorite NFL team, Minnesota Vikings, US Bank Stadium.
Okay.
So it's they're the Minnesota Vikings, and their venue was made to be like a Viking ship.
Right.
And I just think it's so cool. I think it's one of the coolest looking venues out there. When I first seen it, I was unsure about it. But just tying in the whole, it's like a Viking ship type thing. I'm like, that's a pretty cool stadium. And I like all the glass on the outside and everything. And I mean, anything's better than whenever our arena fell apart a few years ago from the blizzard.
Yeah, when pieces started falling on people, I think. Yeah, that wasn't so good. At the same time, you know what? I respect this call because, mostly, even if your old venue was kind of maybe not so great, as a fan, you get attached to it, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that you actually really like the new stadium that much, that's credentialing. That means something, I think.
And, I will say, though, when it comes to football, and I feel like I'm getting more and more in the minority with this as the years go on, is I personally prefer an outdoor stadium. So when when our stadium fell apart, I think it was like 2014, 2015. I can't remember.
Wasn't that long ago. That's right. Within the last 10 years.
But when we had to play in Minnesota Gophers, I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but I think it was I can't remember. When we had to play in their stadium and it was outdoors, I'm like, this is, because it's like, if it's going to snow, they're going to be playing in the snow. I love weather games. So
yeah. As a fan, I appreciate that too. Now, a fan sitting in the stands, I don't love weather games so much. I turned down $10 tickets to go to a Bears game this past year because it was literally 3 degrees out. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. No way. No. But no, I like your call. Good call, Bob. I'll throw my first one out there. I'm going to stick with, what's closest to all of us here with hoops for the moment. talk about my favorite NBA venue, and for me, that has to be the mecca of basketball, and that is Madison Square Garden in New York City. Now,
Mm.
I lived in New York for 10 years. I was there. I'm a little bit older than some of you SimWorlders. But I was there back in like the Patrick Ewing, John Starks, Charles Oakley kind of heyday. Didn't come away with a title back then, but had some really good teams, some nice playoff runs. So yeah, I got a little bit of a personal, emotional attachment to it on that level. But I mean, it is just kind of like, I don't know, like the Yankee Stadium of basketball, right? Like, I mean, it's just like, this historic place. So much has happened there, and it is just a cool old venue. But at the same time isn't run down, and it's on 34th Street in the middle of Manhattan, so it's got a lot of interesting things to it. I will say this much: it doesn't matter if you're not a Knicks fan, or maybe St. John's plays some games there sometimes and stuff like that. If you can get there and you can get yourself a ticket, I will highly recommend going to see somebody do something at Madison Square Garden, because again, it's just a historic place, and I think you'll enjoy it. And I should mention too that actually, in the time that I lived in New York, the Garden holds different kinds of venues.
Yeah.
And I've also seen high level tennis. There was a tennis tournament that they had there once. I can't remember what it was called anymore, but it had top pro players. I remember that much. And I've also seen arena football there back when a long time ago, or an arena football team.
Yeah.
And as something of, and I won't sidetrack on this too much, but I'm a boxing fan, and they started to bring boxing back there, like in the 1990s too. I think they still have some boxing events, but got to see Oscar De La Hoya fight there one time. Got to see Roy Jones Jr. fight there one time. Even once got to see Eric Butterbean Esch, which, if you're in the know on Butterbean, you know what I'm talking about. If not, Google it, kids. Google it.
I was going to say, I don't know if the kids nowadays even probably would recognize that name.
Yes, respect the brief rocket that was Butterbean. I actually saw his career end, by the way. He got beat by a journeyman fighter who exposed him. But anyway, his Wikipedia page is great. So if you're bored, go check that out.
And then go look up his episode on Jackass whenever he beat up Johnny Knoxville in the clothing store or whatever.
Perfect. And then get yourself a ticket to go see hoops in the Mecca, because you
won't
regret it. You won't regret it. All right, I'll bat the ball. Talking to tennis, I'll bat the ball back over New York right now. Bob, give me a second.
Yeah, so I would have to go with Bay Area Breakers Arena, or their venue as a whole. Can you imagine when you were growing up, if you were playing sports, and in the middle of playing sports, like you just look out and there's the water, there's the Golden Gate Bridge, there's the mountains, and it's like that's all, and that's every day for them. At some point, it's just normal.
Yeah, yes,
it is just a normal day for them. But just the atmosphere of that particular venue for Bay Area Breakers, it's awe-inspiring, I guess you can say. Plus, it doesn't hurt that they have a good basketball team.
No, yeah, it has a good atmosphere for that reason. Hey, you know what? I'm going to jump in here because I came so close to picking them for one of my top three. And you know what? If it wasn't for the fact that actually just in this past week, I called for the first time, I got to see and really kind of experience the floating Opera House of Hoops in Sydney. Oh yeah. And look, first of all, I think like that place holds like 16, 17 spectators. I mean, it's not like it's a traditional venue in any way, shape, or form. However, that's why I had to mention it, is because I love it. The fact that it is, I mean, the only thing I can even think to remotely compare that to is, I know that like sometimes the U.S. Navy has like hosted North Carolina playing Kansas on a battleship, but that's obviously and those are cool, actually. I like watching them.
Those are awesome.
I've tuned in even when I don't care about the teams, just to kind of watch them play on that. And for me, that's Opera House, right? Like, okay, Oceania, you're 5-13 wherever you're at right now. You're not Bay Area Breakers, are you? But I'll tune in to watch that venue. That's just the coolest, most unique thing. And look, to be honest, there's like more than a few SimWorld teams have some pretty cool venues. I would put Bay Area Breakers right up there too. And actually, I do kind of have to give an honorable mention though to the Royal Green in London, Atlantis. That's a nice one too. But that Opera House, yeah, is just the most otherworldly, unique. I don't know what planet that dropped in from, kind of thing. That, yeah, I mean, you don't forget it, do you? So that's why it had to make. That's why it had to make my list too. But I do love the Bay Bridge Athletic Center, and absolutely cannot fault your pick of that at all.
Yeah, when it comes to all of them, like the Opera House for me, I mean, it's great. But yeah, the Bay Bridge Athletic Club is just, again, I think it's just that I like the mountains. So I think just being able to see the mountains like that is just great. I don't know if I'd be able to, I don't know if I could ever play on a Bay Area Breakers team or a team that might play them at home, because I think I would just be so mesmerized by the
too distracted.
Like, oh, that's really nice. Oh, that's a 3 that I just gave up because I was not guarding my guy.
Yeah, no, it doesn't hurt. I've never lived in San Francisco or in the Bay Area, but I've gotten to visit or had to be there for different things, different times, and it's gorgeous. I mean, it's a beautiful part of the world, and that is a beautiful stadium with a breathtaking view. And yeah, there you go.
So are you saying, is the Opera House your number 2, or that's just another?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, the Opera House is actually my number 2. So we both got 2 out there. I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and just roll right on into my third, which I'm going to take it international again, Bob.
Okay.
Because I did live over in Europe for a few years, and I got big into soccer. Into soccer over there, and I was a season ticket holder for Chelsea, which is one of the better teams. So I got to go around and see different, English soccer stadiums and stuff like that, and even a few on the continent. I saw Real Madrid Stadium once, Ajax Amsterdam. I was over there for a game. But I am going to pick one, and it's going to be a weird pick, but you're going to have to roll with it. There is a soccer stadium called Vicarage Road, which is the home stadium of a team called Watford. Watford, you've probably never heard of. Currently, they are not even in the English top division. But this is actually kind of why I loved it, is it was just this smaller, intimate, little kind of place. It's almost like, how sometimes there's like the difference. Think of the difference between the intensity of a college basketball regular season game and an NBA regular season game, and that's almost how I would describe the kind of feel there. It's just like, it feels like it means so much more. And Bob, I don't know about you personally. I guess we're going to find out in a couple seconds. But for anybody else out there listening in that has watched Ted Lasso, it's like that feeling of AFC Richmond. Like Richmond is not Manchester City, Manchester United, Chelsea, Liverpool, these monsters. Right? It's this little kind of community and almost like family thing. And anyway, when I first moved to London years ago, when I started my little stay there, I made some really good friends who all happened to be huge Watford fans. So they started dragging me out to Vicarage Road. And it just kind of stuck with me. And for that reason, I had to include them on my top 3 venues. It's a little... what's a good $10 word to describe it? It's a little esoteric of a pick for me. People aren't going to know that stadium. People aren't going to know that team. But I gotta be true to myself. I got to be the road warrior, and I got to give Watford a little bit of credit there. So a little bit of an oddball pick maybe with that last one. Who do you got for your third, Bob?
Yeah, I would love to. I'd love to give my opinion on Vicarage Road Stadium or Watford, but I'm just going to take your. I'm going to take your word for it.
Yeah. I assume I'm 80% accurate. Yeah, good enough.
Well, for my last one, I'm going to have to go with, and everybody. I would say most people that know me know that I'm a big college football fan, or college sports in general. I've always liked college sports more. And for me, and it's going to be from an experience that I had in the stadium. But it's going to have to be, for me, it's Penn State. Penn State's stadium, Beaver Stadium.
Happy Valley.
Yeah, Happy Valley. For me, I was in 2016, I had student section tickets for Penn State versus Ohio State. Both ranked. both ranked. Penn State was, I mean, anytime you hear Penn State and Ohio State, like the expectation usually is that Ohio State's just they're either gonna run them over or they're gonna win. It's most likely gonna be an Ohio State win. So in that particular game, I almost considered leaving after the third quarter. Ohio State was up 21-7 going into the fourth. It just wasn't looking good. But there's a lot of things that happened in the game that just made you feel it felt different than any other sporting event that I've ever been to. The first Ohio State's first possession, they had to switch to a silent count because the stadium was just so loud.
100,000 people. Yeah. 100,000 people, right? Yeah.
I can't remember if they got a false start or had to call a timeout on that first play because they could not. I think it was JT Barrett, if I can remember correctly. He could not.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Their center at the time could not hear him calling for the ball. And they had to switch at that point on. They had to switch to the silent count. We went from that to the fourth quarter, down 21-7. We scored 17 points in the fourth quarter and held them to 0. There was a punt block or a field goal block for a touchdown to really like the stadium when that happened, when the punt block or the field, I keep saying punt, I'm so sorry. When the field goal block happened, the stadium just went absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Detonated, I'm sure. Yeah.
And it was just, we were all excited because of that. And I believe it was Grant Haley. He's in the NFL now. I can't remember who he plays for. He might be with I thought he might have been with the Browns, but I can't remember. Rams now. Anyways, he picked it up. Scooped it, and he scored a touchdown, field goal block for a touchdown, and that just like absolutely the stadium was shaking. And keep in mind, and this is where I know I kind of mentioned how with football I like the outdoorsy stuff, especially with the weather. This was a whiteout game. I was wearing a t-shirt and shorts. It was probably, I don't know, I want to say that it was probably 30 degrees out. T-shirt, shorts, it started raining.
Oh my God.
I was so cold, and I was wearing a white shirt, so I was giving everybody else a show, too, outside of the football game. But no, I mean, it just Beaver Stadium. They want to make all these renovations right now, and I mean, it's going to be great to get some updates and stuff. But I really hope that they keep the number as high as they can. They still want to keep it over 100,000 people allowed to be there. But man, it was such an experience that honestly, that's probably my number one. I think I kind of went reverse in this order, so we went 1, 2, 3. But Beaver Stadium is my number one. Bay Area is my 2, and then US Bank Stadium's my 3.
Well, I think Beaver might be my number one of your 3 picks too, because not that I've actually been there. I've never been there myself to see a venue, but I do know what it's like to see, a college football game with 80, 90, 100,000 fans around you. But mostly because I just love hearing stories about Ohio State losing in football. God, I hate them. God, I hate them. Hey, here's a fun little tidbit I'll throw in to kind of wrap this, which is I actually considered throwing Ohio Stadium, the Horseshoe, the home of the Buckeyes, on my list. First of all, because a little bit like everything you were saying there, with Happy Valley, applies a lot to the Horseshoe too. I mean, it is, as much as I hate the Buckeyes, it's classic college football atmosphere. It's a sea of people there for football who are all really into it, whatever else. But the real reason it will always have a special place in my heart is because when I was just a boy, when I was just a young kid, October 1987, I was there in the stadium for what is still known as the darkest day in Ohio State football history, when Indiana crushed them. Crushed them. 3-touchdown dog Indiana came in and beat them by 3 touchdowns instead. Me and my dad just happy dancing, and 100,000 other people all unhappy. Special moment. But no, yeah, and you're right about college football environments too, Bob. They're special. So I like your 3 picks. Hopefully you thought my 3 held water as well.
Oh yeah.
Want to maybe close off the segment today or the show today? Maybe mention a place that isn't so you don't have all those warm fuzzies about. Maybe a place you didn't have such a good experience. A least favorite stadia or arena, perhaps.
I'm kind of stuck between two. And it's more for
Okay.
it has nothing to do with the teams themselves. I just personally don't like wondering if I'm going to get robbed or not. So I'm going to give a 1A and a 1B Trap Rap and Ball Event Center for AT Aliens and Liberty Grounds for Philadelphia Elite. I would prefer not to go to either of those places. I have been to Philadelphia before, and I have tried to make sure that I did not get out of my car. So I said less that there's something about them, like about the teams or the arena themselves. More about my safety.
You're just not liking it. I get you. Well, for me, you threw out two SimWorld venues, so I won't beat up on any SimWorld clubs any more than that. But I will say that probably least favorite place for me all time. I mean, I've been to a share of, old ratty stadiums that are no there. The Kingdome in Seattle, which was falling apart, kind of like you're talking about with the Vikings earlier. But the one that just stands out the most in my mind is Old Tiger Stadium in Detroit. Old Tiger Stadium again. Yeah. It's no longer there. They tore it down. It was probably built in like 1911 when they made it in the first place. But I mean, it just seemed like every third seat in that stadium was somehow behind the pole, or an obstruction. Like you just couldn't see anything. It was, it did kind of feel like a death trap. Like, somebody throws a lit cigarette into a trash can and we're all going to die. Something like that. Rusty, just rattly, and not to beat up on Detroit, because actually I have some positive memories of old Joe Louis and, going to see the Red Wings there and some stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But, and I haven't, and you know what? And I should find an excuse to get up there and go to a Tigers game and see the new venue. But I haven't been, obviously, in a long time since they had the old baseball field up there. And, Old Tiger Stadium. Just imagine whatever negative stereotype of, someplace built in the 19th century that you might have. And that was pretty much what you got to deal with up there.
Oh, jeez. But yeah, actually, honestly, I had Detroit as my number. If I was going to give a third one, Detroit was going to be on my number 3. But
it was up there too. Okay.
But also for the same reasons for my 1A and 1B for why I don't.
You had a little bit of that too. No doubt.
Well, E, I appreciate you taking the time to be with us while you're on the road. Do you have any final words for the people?
About to hit the Illinois state border. About to go over the timeline here from Eastern to Central time. So, I'll say I've been over the past couple of days. I got to catch up on SimWorld. I'm a little bit behind. You all are probably ahead of me, but I know we're back on the air this week. I know I'm back behind this mic this week, and looking forward to getting back in the swing of things, Big Bob.
Absolutely. We were back on the air on Tuesday. Make sure you guys are there. But for E and myself, have a good rest of your weekend.